From Below by Darcy Coates. So this review, the first part of it will be spoiler free, and the last part will be spoiler filled. So if you haven't read this book, because it is still fairly new, you're safe for a while, and I'll let you know when I start to get into spoilers. From Below is about a group of divers diving 300 feet down to the ocean floor to shoot a documentary about a mysterious sunken ship. So I gotta say, I've never read a book like this before. If you've read a lot of Darcy Coates, then you know she writes a lot of haunted house stories. So this was very refreshing to see her doing something new. Darcy Coates also does a very good job at making you feel like you're with the divers. I have a very bad fear of massive bodies of water. I can't stand going to the beach because of it. And so you really feel when they dive into the water. I could feel claustrophobic and wanting to hold my breath when they go under the water. It was just crazy. The book also has flashback chapters that takes you 100 years back and shows you what happens a week or two before the ship sunk and why it sunk. And those chapters also had some of the book's creepiest moments. I also think this is some of the best work that Darcy Coates has ever written. It just shows that how much she has grown as an author over the years. So if we're talking about scares, I would say this book isn't very scary. It's more spooky. I would say the scariest thing about this book is the ocean itself. I think Darcy Coates does some really cool things involving the ocean that had me pretty unnerved. But yeah, it's pretty tame compared to her other books. But if you're expecting to go into this and being terrified, you'll be pretty disappointed. But I do think you'll be entertained with the story overall. I found myself absolutely fascinated with reading about the divers exploring this sunken ship. I want to read other books like that, so hopefully I can come across more. But I do have some problems with the book. I thought there was places where the book dragged on and just kept repeating basically the same thing over and over. Also, there was two characters a part of the dive team that you could really take out of the book and it not change anything. So I see no purpose to their characters at all. Also, I think Darcy Coates could use a better editor, because there are certain things that I've read in her books before that I'm baffled at how the editor lets her get away with certain things. And also it's her grammar too. Her grammar is a little weird, and I don't know why her editor wouldn't tighten it up or, change some things. She uses adverbs pretty frequently in her books, and sometimes she'll use them together. And any editor and author that I've ever heard talk about grammar, they'll advise you not to use adverbs. And especially Stephen King, he hates adverbs. And yeah, sometimes she'll use adverbs together, like she'll say something like surprisingly quickly, and to me it just doesn't sound right, because I'm used to seeing like amateur authors do something like that, not professional authors. So it's a bit weird seeing her use adverbs so frequently. But other than that, I did still really enjoy this book. It was very unique and something I haven't seen her do before, and hopefully we'll get more stuff like this in the future by her, because I think she did a really good job. Just a little bit of stuff that I think could have been tightened up, and I would have enjoyed the book a lot more. Like trimming out at least 100 pages. I think it was a little bit too long. I think the book is close to 500 pages long, and I don't think that was really necessary for the story she was trying to tell. Yeah, it could have been shaved down, because there's a lot of just parts that drag on, like chapters that are way too long that's just basically repeating the same thing. And if you cut that out, I think the book could have flowed a lot better, and I would have enjoyed it more. So I'm going to give this book a B. Do give it a read if you haven't already, especially if you're a Darcy Coates fan. I think you would enjoy it. So we're now going to get into some spoilers. So if you haven't read the book and you're interested in reading it, go ahead and click off now and come back later if you want to and see what I have to say about the rest of the book. So here's your warning. I'll wait. So anyway, yeah, this is basically a zombie book. The crew goes down there and finds bodies of the people who sunk on the boat. And since there's no oxygen at this certain area of the ocean that they're diving in, all the bodies are perfectly preserved, and they pretty much look just like they looked when they died. So yeah, that was unsettling to read about when they first discovered the body, or one of the bodies. So they dive multiple times throughout the book down to this boat, and I think they find the dead body at the end of their first dive, but then the bodies don't start coming back to life and attacking them until like their third dive. So there is a gap between the two, and it kind of feels like it's taking its time, you know, building up to something, and you're like, okay, pretty much reading the same thing over and over, and I kind of wanted to, you know, get to its point already. And I think their second dive was the most boring out of all the dives they did. It was just somebody getting stuck and them worrying about the soot that they're touching, and it's clouding up the water and not making them able to see. And that part went on and on and on, just saying the same thing, that, you know, they're stuck and they can't get unstuck, and there's so much soot and they can't see. And it's like, okay, I get to the point, let's get somewhere. So it was just, it would get a little frustrating sometimes, because it's like you're just, the wheels are just, you know, spinning in the mud, not really getting anywhere. So I think dive 2 could have been shortened, or you could take dive 2 and 3 and join them together, and it would have flowed better. So there's also a couple characters I didn't see that added anything to the story. There's one member of the dive team that gets injured while they're down there at the boat, and she's basically sidelined for the entire book after that. There was no point to her character at all. She just gets hurt, and Cove, which is the main character, the leader of the dive team, she just sends her back to the boat, and she just sits there for the rest of the book with nothing really to do. So I really don't see a point to her character at all. And the second character was one of the two guys that stays behind on the ship, and they can talk to the dive team through a mouthpiece, and he also watches the cameras, and one of the two is supposed to pilot these two underwater drones, and they were supposed to film footage of the boat too, but he thinks somebody sabotaged them because they're not working. And so those two characters could have been joined together too. I just didn't see a point of having two of them, because one didn't really do much. So yeah, but then there's this side plot that goes nowhere. One of the guys that stays behind on the boat, one of the guys I was just talking about, he gets paranoid that somebody sabotaged his drones, and so once the dive team dives to the ship, he takes it upon himself to go and snoop around their rooms and stuff to find evidence that one of them sabotaged his stuff. So he goes into the wrong room, and he starts snooping through Vanna's personal belongings, and he finds this journal. And Vanna is a character that has a lot of experience diving, and she's one of the older members of the team. Well, her journal is full of these bizarre drawings and things like saying, "I'll watch you drown," and it's got pictures of someone drowning, and he's thinking that she's planning on harming the team while they're down there, that she's going to pull their oxygen cords or something and watch them drown. So that created some unnecessary tension in the team that didn't go anywhere, because they eventually find out, you know, that it wasn't nothing. And Cove eventually tells them at the end of the book that that Vanna was seeing a therapist, and the therapist told her to draw her nightmares, because one time she went on a dive with her girlfriend, and her girlfriend drowned, and Vanna couldn't save her, and that's why those drawings and stuff are in her journal. So yeah, that really went nowhere. It was just there to create false tension, and I didn't really see it going anywhere either. I didn't think it would lead to anything, and it didn't. And also, I kind of predicted the ending of the book, which made it a little disappointing. So, there's one character that has this necklace. It's a ring, and it's an engagement ring he's planning on, once he goes back home, from this dive, he's gonna ask his girlfriend to be his wife. So he's wearing it around his neck, and he even goes diving with it. And I'm like, okay, he's gonna fucking lose it or something, because like, why else would he be wearing this? You know, it's probably gonna something's gonna happen in the plot where he's gonna lose it under the water or something. And yeah, sure enough, he fucking loses it. And so I think it was after or during their third dive, they all get attacked by these zombies underwater. And Aiden, which is the guy that has the necklace, he gets his suit torn open. And so that's how his necklace comes off and gets lost on the boat. And so when they come back from their third dive, they get back on their main boat, and Cove is saying that, you know, we're gonna, you know, fuck that boat, fuck the footage that they're trying to shoot for the documentary. They're just gonna go back to land and say the hell with it, and they're not ever going back there again. But they're gonna have to wait until that next morning, because a big storm was coming, and she didn't want to risk going back during a storm. Well, Aiden is missing, and you know, I was like, yeah, he's gonna be back down there. And this is before we learned that his ring was missing, I believe. No, I think we do learn that his ring was missing. And I had a feeling, you know, once she said that he was missing, that he was gonna be going back down to the boat by himself. And sure enough, his suit and his oxygen tank and shit was missing. So I'm like, yeah, I knew something would draw him back down there to the boat, and I figured it would be him. So yeah, that was kind of predictable, but I still really enjoy the book overall, though, because it was something I haven't read before, and so I enjoyed that, just reading something I'm not used to. So I guess that's pretty much my thoughts on this book. But yeah, really enjoyed it, and I do still recommend it. But I am currently reading her newest book that isn't even out yet. So this doesn't come out until September 6th, and I got it early somehow. So that's what I'm currently reading, and I should have a review for it by next Monday. So look out for that. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.